कभी धूप कभी छाँव, कभी धूप तो कभी छाँव।
कभी धूप कभी छांव का खेल एक तरह से यहाँ खेला जा रहा है कैनबरा में कोविड के साथ। काफ़ी दिनों तक धूप रही, 1 साल डेढ़ से भी अधिक समय तक यहाँ पर कोई कोविड का केस नहीं आया। फिर अचानक एक आउटब्रेक आया और अभी तक हम इसके साथ संघर्षरत रहे हैं और इस संघर्ष में काफ़ी लोग लगे हुए हैं। डॉक्टर्स, नर्सिस वगैरह की तो बात होती रहती है, आप समाचार पत्रों में पढ़ते रहते होंगे कॉन्टैक्ट्स के बारे में। लेकिन कौन है ये कॉन्टैक्ट ट्रेसर्स और क्या काम करते हैं और कॉन्टैक्ट्स का क्या मतलब है जब कोविड के संदर्भ में। हमने बातचीत करी इसके बारे में एसीटी हेल्थ की एक कॉन्टैक्ट ट्रेसर यताशा डलुवाटा के साथ। आइए उनके साथ इस बातचीत का अंश सुनते हैं। In the fight against the COVID pandemic, there are quite a few heroes. We all have heard of doctors, nurses, epidemiologists, paramedics, and other health professionals who are on the forefront of this war. There is another category. We do not know much about them, but they play an important and crucial role in stopping this outbreak. We are talking about contact tracers every day. The press conferences being organized by Chief Minister and Chief Health Officer. This has become a must-watch TV nowadays. We keenly wait for the number of cases and then the list of exposure venues of close contact, casual contact, and secondary contacts. Who finds out these contacts and how do they find it out? To answer these and many other questions relating to contact tracing, we have with us today Yathasha Daluwata, known affectionately as Yaya. Thank you, Yathasha, and welcome to our program.
Thanks so much.
Let's start with this. Who is a contact tracer?
So it's very much in the name. We trace contacts of positive cases. So those are close contacts, casual contacts, and secondary contacts.
Right, okay. And these are talking about the contacts of the people who have come into the contact with COVID patients.
Exactly. People that they live with or just were in close proximity with. We have to go through and find all those people out and let them know.
And of course, you have been working as a contact tracer for a while. Why did you join as a contact tracer?
So I joined at the start of the pandemic, really. I joined really because at uni I was studying health science and I did a pop health epidemiology course. And then because we were in the middle of a pandemic, there was no better time to start learning about epidemiology. And then I realized that one of the people at ANU, which is the uni I go to, this program called Rebecca Hundy. She was looking for people to help her. So I just emailed her and said I wanted to help.
So this is quite helpful to your studies in a way.
Yeah, it's very much aligned.
So why is contact tracing important and what role plays in containing an outbreak when we're talking about COVID pandemic?
So contact tracing is really important, especially because with our Delta variant, this is an infectious disease, which means that people who are even passing people by can catch the variant. And what we are doing, contact tracing is important. So we're letting them know. So we're minimizing their exposure to the rest of the community and just containing the outbreak. All of Canberra. We're just trying to make it as minimal as possible.
Canberra was lucky that we didn't have any lockdown. We didn't have any outbreak for almost over a year. And then suddenly we had this huge outbreak. And contact tracers are suddenly very busy trying to find out the 1/5 of Canberra is in quarantine. Can you take us through this? How does this typical contact tracing work with an example, probably with a recent example, if possible?
Sure thing. So firstly, what we usually do is we call the case. So I call people who've tested positive cases. So we call whoever the case is and do a really thorough interview. So that's case investigation. Sometimes we interview them 3 or 4 times and we track their movements, who they talked to, what exposures they had. So imagine if they went grocery shopping, where did they go? How long were they there? So we figure out all of those time brackets and who could have been exposed. Then we use things like check-in CBR, check-in CBR. Use apps like that to help us notify people and let us know who was there at those particular times. So they often have a time bracket and they notify those people that we're going to contact them. We get their details, call them up, and figure out the situation from there, really.
So what skills do you need to be a good contact tracer? Like you just went through this process, and seems to be not an easy process sort of this thing. Of course, you need to have certain skills to get that information.
So I think the main thing, it sounds basic, but you need to be a really good listener. Because if you hear what I'm saying, it's that you're really catching on little details of who went where and when. So you need to be a good listener. You need to be resilient. You're not giving people good news. People don't want to be in quarantine. Sometimes people are a bit angry about that, which is fair enough. But you need to be resilient and supportive of the person on the phone.
So that's quite, I mean, there's quite a variety of skills you need to get that information out of people. So you just mentioned that you talk to the people who are either COVID patients or I believe that it's your responsibility if someone is found out as a COVID positive case, you let them know that they are COVID positive.
So that's not contact tracing. That's a team called investigation. We're very closely linked, but we're not actually doing those hour-long interviews with the cases.
So how do people react? You just mentioned that some of them are angry or whatever when you tell them that they have been in contact with someone who has COVID. And do you find it stressful when you are telling them that information, and how do people react?
So recently I've been lucky where some people already know, checked CPR, they've checked the exposure site, and they're already suspecting that they're going to get a call from us.
Right.
But I have many, for example, families of cases, team members, things like that, where they don't know. Really that call with a lot of sympathy and empathy. And I keep checking throughout the call, are you okay? Would you like me to call later so you can actually process this information? Things like that. Because you're delivering bad news and then asking for a bunch of details all in the same call.
How do you define then close contact, casual contact, and secondary contact?
Okay, so a close contact is someone who's had close contact with the actual positive case. It could be they shared an enclosed space like a car, they live with the case, their house got visited by the case, they visited the house of the case, or they went to one of those close contact exposure sites. The team upstairs determines what's a close contact exposure site or a casual contact exposure site. So those are close contacts. Then you have secondary close contacts. Those people did all of those things, but with the close contact. So if you think about it, there's the case, the close contact, the secondary close contact. They share a car with the close contact. They live with the close contact. All of those categories, but in reference to the close contact. Does that make sense?
So if someone is a COVID patient, and anyone who is in the close contact with them, the family members would be close contacts, I would say. If the family members are interacting with some other people, then there will be secondary close contact.
Exactly. A casual contact is someone who went to one of the casual contact exposure sites.
Well, how would you determine if I go to Woolworths and suddenly it becomes a casual contact? What's the criteria for that Woolies store becoming a casual contact?
So that's really determined in the initial interviews with the case. So it depends what they did at the site, how long were they there, what was their interaction with the site. So imagine if they went into Woolworths, did their groceries, touched a lot of things, were singing, shouting, had no mask on. That would be a close contact exposure site. Yeah, if they were taking all the right precautions, didn't really stop to talk to anyone even, didn't touch a lot of things, the team upstairs would maybe determine that as a casual contact site. Depends on the level of risk of exposure at the sites.
Contacts determine what test they need to get it done and isolation time, etc. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So the different types of contacts have different quarantine requirements and different testing requirements.
For example, if a Woolies store becomes a casual contact, anyone during that period, if they are there, then they have to take that isolation and testing requirements. What about the staff and all that there?
So If we inform the staff that even though they're at the casual contact site because they were there or they interacted with the customer who was a case, we might inform the staff are actually close contacts. So then they will just follow the public advice unless we inform them of otherwise.
So you just mentioned about the Check-in Canberra app. You use it for the contact tracing. What are tools you basically are using? You're talking to the people, interviewing. So what kind of tools you are using in that process?
So yeah, like you said, one of the tools is Check-in CBR. Talking to people word of mouth is a really important tool. Having contact with different companies. We even sometimes go as far as CCTV. Really anything we can get our hands on.
So you're basically trying to use as many as tools possible. How effective has been Check-in Canberra app?
I think it's been really good personally because in Canberra it was mandatory even before our outbreak. So it's good because it notifies people where they were. People don't remember. They know that I went to this shop on this day, but not the time bracket. It's been really useful for that. It means we're counting on a more reliable source than, say, a receipt or a phone record, even though you can do both. But I think it's been really useful.
Using app like Check-in Canberra is quite useful. I don't remember what did I have for my breakfast, and if you ask me after 10 days, where were you and what did you do? I have no idea. So how reliable is that information?
Exactly. It's just a good record. Honestly, I actually think it should be kept in place for a while to come.
You have been going through your team also, with this sudden outbreak, as I said, there is almost 1/5 of Canberra was in quarantine when the outbreak started. This must have put a lot of challenges to you and your team. How did you cope with that?
Honestly, I think we've coped quite well. Even though we've had the outbreak, it hasn't been as bad as some other states' numbers, and we were prepared. So just before our outbreak happened, we were actually helping New South Wales with their outbreak, their case interviews, very much prepared in that sense. You know how you said for a year we didn't have outbreaks really? We had outbreak prep day. So we had, think of it like a role play. We had days where we pretended there was an outbreak. So we tried to do, all that preparation really came in handy for when we actually did have the outbreak. But I think it was really helping New South Wales that came in the most handy.
Hopefully, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next few weeks in Canberra. I hope that things would settle down. And you may have, I'm sure you must be working long time, you and your team, putting in quite a long days here to find out that information. Do you see that this outbreak will be contained in the next few days?
Oh, I couldn't say that. Anyway, we have this joke around the office that we need a crystal ball to tell what will happen. So we made a crystal ball to try and predict.
We wish we could have that, crystal ball, but there is no crystal ball, particularly with the variants we are. Thank you very much for your time today. I know that you and your team are quite busy, and still you found out some time to come and talk to us. We can only say our appreciation and really grateful to you and your team for the fantastic work you are doing to keep us safe from the outbreak. Thank you very much.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
आइए अब आपको एक गीत सुनाते हैं फिल्म आंधी का। आंधी फिल्म बनी थी कमलेश्वर के उपन्यास काली आंधी पर और काफ़ी लोकप्रिय हुई थी ये फिल्म। कमलेश्वर का अपना एक अलग स्थान है हिंदी साहित्य में। वो आधुनिक हिंदी साहित्य के एक तरह के स्तंभ कहे जा सकते हैं। जिस तरह से मोहन राकेश, निर्मल वर्मा, राजेंद्र यादव और भीष्म शाहिनी थे, उन्होंने सारिका का संपादन किया और साथ ही साथ फिल्मों के साथ भी काफ़ी जुड़े रहे थे। उनकी जानी मानी फिल्में थी मौसम, आंधी, छोटी सी बात और रंग बिरंगी। और उन्हें साहित्य अकादमी का अवार्ड भी दिया गया था उनके हिंदी उपन्यास कितने पाकिस्तान पर। उनको पद्म भूषण से भी नवाजा गया 2005 में। सुनते हैं आंधी का ये खूबसूरत गीत।